So we've got some breaking news in just now that Rasmus Højlund is going to wear the number 11 for Manchester United. But today's video is going to focus on the Manchester United takeover news, some news that's come out on the Qatar, the takeover of Manchester United still being the most likely outcome, despite yesterday's report that the takeover was off. If you've lived under a rock, yesterday the big report came out that the Manchester United takeover was off. The Glazers were going to take Manchester United off the market. But like every single takeover story that seems to come out, the next day that story by the Mail has been revealed as basically false news for clicks, interactions, maybe a negotiation tactic by the Glazers. But essentially, it was just spin, spin, spin. So we're going to update you on the facts, what other journalists are saying on the takeover, what other journalists have said this morning. We're going to update you on the Qatar takeover, why you should not be worried. We've got a lot of information coming out on Qatar and that the Glazers staying is false news. So let's get into that. So please do smash a like, please do subscribe if you're new and share the video. Ben Jacobs says, understanding remains the Man United sale process is ongoing and little has changed. So Ben Jacobs, first of all, confirms, and so have other sources now, that little has changed right after this Mail report comes out. He said no sale is one possibility, especially in the light of the expanded Club World Cup format. But those close to Qatar's side have said for some time they think their main rival would be no sale on Sir Jim. So basically, he does say that there's a possibility they can stay, but he's checked, everyone around checked, and basically everyone's been informed that that story that the Glazers were staying was absolute rubbish. But the interesting thing that he says is that Qatar believe their main rival is no sale, not Sir Jim, and that is absolutely true. And the fact that the Glazers can't sell the club, the fact that the Glazers can't stay at the club because financially it makes no sense for them to stay, for me is a strong indication it will be Qatar, they will be out Sir Jim, and the Glazers will cave and sell. It's a game, it's a negotiation game. But Ben Jacobs did add to this report. He said a few things. He said sources close to the process this evening indicate multiple groups are still involved in negotiations and that as of now, the Glazers have not picked a winner or decided not to sell. And those close to the groups also stress that they are yet to hear anything definitive. So despite the Mail coming out and claiming that the Glazers are going to announce they're staying, Ben Jacobs and those close to the whole situation say, no, that's not true. You know, we don't know anything on Qatar, we don't know anything on Sir Jim, but we don't know anything about the Glazers staying, and no decision has been made. Qatar is still in this, la-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da. Ben Jacobs said this, as I've said before, often in a takeover of this nature, which isn't the norm, the loser comes out and speaks first. We saw this with the Chelsea run, also by Rain. In that instant, the losers were even informed they were out of the process before the groups who remained in it. And he's absolutely spot on. If you know, you are the loser, you come out and say that first. You know, Qatar would come out with a statement first. So Jim will come up with a statement first if they were a loser. That's what happens, and that's what the Rain group did with Chelsea. So again, I think if someone's lost the takeover, the Qataris, Sir Jim, they would be putting out a statement to say, yeah, we've pulled out, la-di-da, la-di-la. He's absolutely spot on. And he said, selling side sources this evening still stress nothing has changed. But if it has, and full respect to other reports, the Glazers must surely speak publicly and clarify their position. They owe the fan base that if they've not made up their mind. So there's obviously the possibility that they could stay. But basically that report that came out last night, everyone that's done some checks on that report has basically said, no, we've got no confirmation that they're staying. So basically, why would the Daily Mail of all people break this report that, you know, so-and-so is staying? You know, Daily Mail of all people breaks this report that the Glazers are staying, la-di-da, 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 and then no one else the next day confirms that. No one else the next day goes, yeah, you know what, the Glazers are staying. Everyone's saying no. Every indication is leaning towards the fact that the Glazers are going to leave. Gary Neville said some interesting things, and then we're going to get into the next report on Qatar people and why this is good for Qatar. So Gary Neville said this. He said, I don't believe the Glazers not selling / doing anything story. They have to do something. They've run out of money and the financial situation is desperate. They need investment in. They also have a toxic impact on the club from inside out. The negligence continues for now, but I don't think it can go on without some action on raising funds. Also, who would come in as a minority alongside them with the damage it would do to their reputation? And again, Gary Neville was spot on. A lot of people don't realise this, but the club is toxic inside out. We had people, staff at Manchester United handing out protest flyers. Staff were trying to go on strike to get the Glazers out. The fans are fuming. None of the staff like the Glazer ownership. If a minority investor comes in to fund the Glazers and let them stay, the outrage that they're going to get from Man United fans, it will be massive. They wouldn't do it. You know, we saw, you know, what happened with Greenwood. There was so much outrage for Greenwood coming back from fans. They stopped it. There was so much outrage when Man United were going to sign Arnautovic. They stopped it. You know, that if the Glazers stayed, the outrage would be 10 times more than that, because I'm pretty sure everyone would say, yeah, I'd have Greenwood and Arnautovic at this club if it meant the Glazers are gone. The Glazers going is the main thing that everyone at United is united on. So the outrage from fans if the Glazers stay would be so bad, and the outrage towards the person that enables the Glazers to stay would be so bad, that, yeah, the feeling is it's literally impossible for the Glazers to get the minority investor in. So what is the situation on Qatar? What is believed to be going on? Well, I'm going to show you what my report is. So I said yesterday, reports that the Glazers are staying is likely spin / a negotiation tactic to get a higher bid. The financial situation at Manchester United is so bad that Glazers could not stay unless they got at least 2 billion in investments. The debt mismanagement of Man United over 17 years is catching up on them, and owning Man United is no longer profitable like it used to be. The Glazers don't have the funds needed to stay at the club, renovate the stadium, or clear the debt, hence why Amrabat, our main target, was a loan deal. If we couldn't buy Amrabat, do you think the Glazers would pay a big bill for selling something that wasn't a sale to Reign? The Sir Jim winning negotiation tactics story resulted in Qatar twice upping their bid. Now the transfer window is shut. What's not to say the Glazers' focus is on getting Qatar to cave, as they know they could easily pay the $6 billion. The Glazers have to sell the club, and they have seen the Qataris cave twice when they were putting out those Sir Jim's winning story and up their bid. It's all games to try and get $6 billion. The Glazers believe that the Qataris are going to cave. The Glazers believe that the Qataris know that their biggest rival is, as Ben Jacobs says, their biggest rival is no sale, not Sir Jim. The Qataris know their biggest rival is no sale, not Sir Jim. So the Glazers are now trying to play out stories of no sale, no sale, no sale. They want 10 billion to scare Qatar into upping their bid, because when they did those Sir Jim's winning stories, Qatar upped their bid twice. They're getting annoyed. Why aren't Qatar upping their bid? They've bid 5.5 billion. We want 6 billion. Qatar can easily play 6 billion. Let's play a game. Let's keep delaying it to make Qatar fed up and get them to up their bid, or let's try and convince them they're staying. Also on the report yesterday as well is also from the Daily Mail, and that 99% of takeover stories get debunked, and likely yesterday's story was just a game. But I'm confident that United will get Qatari owners. I'm confident United will get Qatari owners from things that I've heard. Essentially, 4 of the Glazer siblings want to sell the club to Qatar. 4 of the Glazer siblings are ready to get rid of United, sell the club to Qatar. Abraham and Joe were saying, well, there's not much between Qatar and Sir Jim, so Jim could allow us to stay for another 2 years. The club could be worth more in 2 years. The club will only be worth more in 2 years if we actually win stuff and are good, so that's a big risk for them to take. And they're saying, well, we know that Qatar can pay 6 billion. We know that Qatar have got more money. Why aren't Qatar giving us what we want? Why aren't we getting these 6 billion offers for Man United? And the reason you're not getting those 6 billion offers is because you've got to pay $1 billion to clear the debt and $2 billion to renovate the stadium. Had the stadium been renovated and it wasn't in debt, I think you'd get 7 billion from Qatar, not 6 billion. But Qatar aren't going to give you that kind of money because United isn't worth that. And the Glazers are frustrated that they're not getting the 6 billion asking price, but Man United is generally not worth 6 billion, an absolute madman. And Joe and Abraham are like, let's leave them in the dark. Let's frustrate the bidders, because, you know, Qatar upped their bid twice when we told them Sir Jim Ratcliffe was going to win. Let's not to say if we pretend there's going to be no sale, Qatar will up their bid again. Qatar don't want to up their bid because they said this is our final bid, take it or leave it offer. And if they up their bid, everyone will know they're weak if you play them, and that's going to affect their business position. But there are reports coming out behind the scenes that Qatar are preparing a new bid to go in October. Qatar are doing due diligence ahead of a new bid. Now, that was reports that came out last week. Maybe the Glazers were putting out stories that they're going to stay because they know that the Qataris are thinking of putting another bid in, and it was all a game to get more out of the Qataris' bids. It's so hard to really know and kind of grasp what is going on with this Manchester United takeover. It's so frustrating. It's been such a long and dragged out process, but I think we all can agree on the fact that Glazers need to go and they need to sell the club to Qatar, and it just needs to hurry up, because I'm absolutely fed up with this takeover being completely dragged on. We know you want to sell to Qatar. We know you can't stay at the club. We know that you want a bigger bid out of Qatar, but sometimes you have to go, yeah, Man United could be worth 10 billion in 2 years, but Man United won't be worth 10 billion in 2 years if you stay. So you saying you want to stay because the club could be worth 10 billion is crazy, because you want to sell the club for what it'd be worth if good owners came in, renovated the stadium. The Glazers essentially are going, Man United will be worth 10 billion in a couple of years. if Qatar come in and renovate the stadium and pay off the debt, so we want 10 billion. It's like, well, you renovate the stadium and pay off the debt, and maybe you will get 10 billion in 2 years if you make us a good side. But you can't do that. You don't have the funds to do that. And as Gary Neville has said, like, the Glazers physically don't have the funds to stay at United unless they get a minority investor in, which won't happen. They're absolutely broke. Well, it could happen. They could get a minority investor in, but they'd ruin the whole image. They're absolutely broke. And they know they're absolutely broke. And I think the Qataris know that. And they're doing everything to try and squeeze the last drop out of the Qataris because they know they have to go. Now, smash that like if your Glazers out. I'm going to be back at 3 o'clock for United Arsenal watch along. See you then. And of course, bye.